Welcome back to another episode of Space This Week, a weekly show where I cover all the updates regarding orbital launch news and SpaceX's Starship development. But this time, this is a tricky one, but I can't put this off any longer. Elon Musk has been spewing some absolutely wild things on Twitter this past week, so much so that I don't think I can really ignore it anymore and need to address it. One of the new things he's shouting about now is how we should, in fact, deorbit the International Space Station as soon as possible within 2 years, rather than at the end of the decade, which would be a monumentally stupid thing to do. Firstly, for SpaceX, since a big source of their revenue is launching crew and resupply missions to the station, a contract made even more lucrative thanks to the fact that Starline has been such a disaster that Boeing's contracts were moved to SpaceX. So early deorbit makes little sense from SpaceX's perspective. They're launching Crew 10 on the 12th of March pending mission readiness, and after the arrival of Crew 10, the Crew 9 mission will return to Earth on another SpaceX capsule. Yep, the one sent up last year to rescue Butch and Suni, and not literally only sent up just now under Trump because Biden refused to do anything, which is something Elon is now claiming is the case as well. They could have returned at any point, but it made more sense for them to simply join the Crew 9 roster and carry out the Crew 9 mission aboard the station. And yes, Butch and Suni can leave at any time. There seems to be a misconception that the vehicles on the station can't simply undock and leave whenever they want to, but this couldn't be further from the truth because they are literally the station's escape pods. If there's any threat to the station, like potential for a collision with space debris, the crew always board their spacecrafts, ready to undock should they need to, which is so far something they've never had to follow through with, luckily. But on the subject of the Crew 9 mission, and what the crew are doing, so many replies to Elon seem to agree with him that the space station is a pointless waste of money. Like, do people not realise what the space station does? Like, it's not a place where we just send people up to go chill for 6 months at a time. Active science and research is done up there that cannot be done on Earth. Stuff that requires a microgravity environment. For over 25 years, more than 4,000 investigations have been carried out on the station that have resulted in over 4,400 research publications. You can read all about the achievements and findings made in 2024 alone at nasa.gov/station results. I'll link it below for you to read. Just this week, the Expedition 72 crew helped ground teams with the final round of the 2025 Astro B0 robotics competition, where student teams wrote software to control one of the station's Astro B free-flying robots, helping not just develop these devices further, but it's a fantastic outreach opportunity to get more people pursuing careers in the STEM fields. And there's also ongoing experiments in growing plants in space, something critical for the future of deep space exploration. Which is what Elon wants, no? Like, he has stated his goal is going to Mars, right? One experiment on board the station is helping scientists understand how plants handle the extreme conditions of space. Led by JAXA, the plant UVB investigation is investigating how microgravity and high UV radiation affect plant growth at both the cellular and molecular levels, an understanding of which is key to sustaining future space missions with fresh food. The astronauts are growing Theocress, testing both a normal strain and a mutated strain that lacks autophagy, a process that helps plants tolerate stress. Comparing how these two strains fare will give us vital insight into how plants adapt to space, and NASA has explicitly stated that this will help for long-term Moon and Mars missions, but it could also benefit us here on Earth, particularly when it comes to growing things in extreme environments. I could go on, so I will. Robotic surgery tech demos have been conducted on the station to test the performance of a small robot that can be controlled by a surgeon on Earth to help deal with potential medical emergencies on places too far away to fly someone there or fly the patient back. Something that again isn't just limited to space, but can help with surgeries for people in remote areas on Earth. 3D metal printing has also been studied on the station's Columbus module. Last year, they successfully deposited a small S-curve of liquefied stainless steel in the first demonstration of this. And there's also been advancements in 3D printing cardiovascular tissue, which could eventually give us the technology to 3D print entire organs, like hearts, for patients on transplant lists. And on the subject of healthcare, one study being done is the immune cell activation study, which is investigating whether microgravity influences the uptake of magnetic nanoparticles into immune and melanoma cells in order to design personalized cells that can target and kill diseased immune cells. What I'm saying is, the ISS isn't just a big big spaceship. It's an advanced microgravity laboratory for human spaceflight and science. It gives researchers around the world the ability to put low Earth orbit's microgravity environment to use. It isn't pointless, and this bizarre lie from Elon that it's nothing but a waste of money is something I just don't understand. SpaceX literally makes huge amounts of money being America's de facto only launch provider to it. When was the last time Cygnus launched? And obviously Antares is out of the game, leaving Falcon 9 as really the only viable launch vehicle to use. SpaceX is also the key player in NASA's Artemis program and sending humans to the moon again. Does anyone else remember in 2017 when Elon Musk said we should have a moon base?
I think that would enable the creation of Moon Base Alpha or some sort of lunar base. And it's 2017. I mean, we should have a lunar base by now. What the hell's going on?
And the Starship HLS will be a huge direct benefit to SpaceX, and establishing infrastructure on the moon is a great way to put the technology we need together for future missions to Mars. I feel like this doesn't even warrant discussion, but also, does Elon just want China to win? Like, they have a space station, and will have the only space station if we deorbit the ISS early. And then they will have no competition when it comes to launching a crewed moon mission and eventual moon surface base, which will give them a leapfrog advantage in the race to Mars. While America is doing very well with Starship, it did explode on its 7th flight test, so we are a long way off from it being ready to do a Mars mission, and meanwhile, China is catching up quickly. Don't get me wrong, they are still a very long way off where SpaceX is, but now that SpaceX has done a lot of the hard part in figuring out the huge technical design challenges of Starship, I don't think it will take China as long to reach the point where SpaceX is right now as it took SpaceX. And also, the moon is only a few days away. The transfer window to Mars is every 2 years, so we can do stuff on the moon during those gaps. I just don't understand the logic in skipping the moon for Mars. And this past week, he's even been hitting out at actual astronauts in response to Musk's lie that Butch and Suni are on the space station purely for political reasons, rather than because they joined the Crew 9 mission and doing all the stuff I've already discussed. Former ISS commander Andreas Mogensen called this out as a lie and pointed out that this is coming from a man who continually complains about lack of honesty from the mainstream media. And Elon's response? He called him a slur that I'm not even sure if I can say it on here without getting demonetized, but it rhymes with fully regarded, saying that he offered this to Biden's administration and they refused, with Andreas replying with actual class, saying that you know as well as I do that Butch and Suni are returning with Crew 9, as has been the plan since last September. Even now, you're not sending up a rescue ship to bring them home. They are returning on the Dragon capsule that has been on the ISS since last September. Another former ISS commander, Scott Kelly, you may have heard of him, came forward and said that Elon's behavior is beyond the pale, and Mogensen does not deserve this kind of disrespect. Former NASA astronaut Terry Virts also joined in, saying that Elon has revealed himself to be an unstable, malign extremist and 100% not compatible with the peaceful exploration of space. Mark Kelly, another legendary former astronaut, joined their side as well, saying that when Musk finally has the nerve to climb into a rocket, he can come talk to them. Just, whew. Even if you agree with Elon, why would he want to be burning bridges and alienating himself from the actual astronauts who fly Dragon? He called Mogensen, the literal pilot of the Crew Dragon on Crew 7, a passenger, and some of his other attacks also make no sense at all. He described Mark Kelly as a Dem donor shill, but Mark Kelly is literally an incumbent Democrat politician, serving as the senator from Arizona. I'm not sure if you can be a Democrat shill when you are literally an elected Democrat politician. It would be like accusing me of being a Matt Lowne shill. But I am Matt Lowne, that's who I am, you know? I don't know. I'm tired is all. Space this week's primary focus is Starship development, since that's probably the most open and most exciting part of spaceflight right now. But Elon's behavior is killing interest in anything SpaceX. I know multiple space YouTubers have seen hits to their numbers because of the backlash towards Elon Musk. Some have stated this publicly. Shout out to Zack. If you haven't seen his work, then you are really missing out. I've linked his channel below. While others haven't said anything, but you can just go and take a look at YouTube channels that are built on SpaceX and Starship, and for a lot of them, their recent numbers aren't what they used to be. I'm just fortunate that Space This Week is just a side series on this channel, because I worry that people's interest in SpaceX and spaceflight isn't gonna recover if things continue the way they are, especially if Elon is hell-bent on stunting the West's progress in space as much as possible, which, outside of Starship development, is what it seems he's doing. And yes, that was a Nazi salute. You can compare it to still images of other politicians appearing to do a similar gesture, but when you watch the full videos, only Elon's is an absolute Sieg Heil, and frankly, if you think this is anything but a Nazi salute, then I honestly think you're deluded. I live in Plymouth. Unlike most of the UK, we have next to no historic architecture, because the city was effectively levelled during World War II. 2 main shopping centres, nearly every single civic building, 26 schools, 8 cinemas, 41 churches, and 3,754 houses were destroyed during the war, with a further 18,398 severely damaged, and that's not even counting the massive loss of life. This city lost so much because of the Nazi Party, so it hits especially close to home when I see people defending someone with this much political influence reviving Nazi culture. My grandparents lost several friends to the Nazi bombs, and there are still many people alive who had to live through the war. So, sorry that this episode has been a little bit different from normal, but I felt it was important that I made my position on all of this clear. I'm aware that I've probably alienated a bunch of people away from this channel now, but I hope this has made my position on things clear, like I said. For the record, I'm not one of those mindless Reddit hive mind people that thinks Elon Musk is literally just like a con man who contributed nothing towards Tesla and SpaceX. I want to be clear, while I detest him as a person, I can't deny that he has been an immensely positive force in the advancement of electric vehicles and spaceflight, and I have tremendous respect for those achievements. Yes, he didn't found Tesla, but let's not delude ourselves that Tesla would be what it is today without Musk. And he very much did found SpaceX, and gambled his fortune on having it succeed, and has played an undeniably integral role into both the company and the development of its rockets. SpaceX, Falcon 1, Falcon 9, Falcon Heavy, Starship, none of these would exist without Elon Musk. Yes, he has hired talented engineers to do a lot of the work, but every former SpaceX employee to come forward has said that Elon was not a passive part in the development of the rockets. All it takes is watching any of Tim Dodd's excellent Starbase interviews with the man to know that he clearly knows his stuff and remains an active and passionate part of the Starship program. And I also must just quickly reject the argument that he's trying to shut down NASA and move it all to SpaceX. SpaceX isn't NASA and NASA isn't SpaceX. They do very different things. SpaceX is NASA's customer, and SpaceX don't want to lose that. Let me clarify further. NASA does scientific missions, and they contract SpaceX, and others, to launch those missions. The two aren't in competition, and both must exist for the other to survive. Anyway, this is why I've always tried to separate the art from the artist when it comes to Elon Musk. Ever since he accused the Thai rescue diver of being a thing I can't say here without getting demonetized, I've tried to focus on the great achievements of his companies and his contributions to science and engineering, rather than his personal awful opinions on everything else. I especially feel bad for folks like Gwynne Shotwell, who actually run SpaceX, who must have to constantly put out fires around him. The thing strangest to me of all, though, he has more money to last 1,000 lifetimes, and with SpaceX especially, he could have had one of the greatest legacies ever. Remember when he was almost universally considered the real-life Tony Stark? He was even in Iron Man 2. And he's thrown that away. I don't know how history will remember Elon Musk now. I still think it will be positive, given what he has contributed with SpaceX, but it certainly won't be as great as it could have been. If you liked this video, then sorry, I'm probably not going to make another one like this again, but I just wanted to set the record straight about my stance on things. A lot of you have been asking me to do so. And yeah, so that's it.